The thatched house glowed softly as the first strands of evening settled gently over the village. A small oil lamp flickered against the woven bamboo walls, casting warm, trembling halos of gold across the modest room. The smell of scallions sizzling in the pan drifted through the air, light, comforting, the fragrance of a family waiting for someone they weren't sure would ever return. In the corner, Diep stood over the stove, stirring a pan of fried rice with the kind of tenderness that comes only from habit and longing. Each turn of the spoon seemed to soften the silence around her. The house was small, the night cool, yet the warmth from the kitchen spread outward like a quiet promise. At the little wooden table, Nhi swung her legs beneath her seat, too short to reach the floor, her cheeks puffed with every bite. "Good, baby?" Diep asked. Nhi nodded so hard her ponytail bounced. "Yes, yummy." Diep smiled, scooping another spoonful of egg, blowing on it, and feeding it to her daughter one careful bite at a time. The sound of Nhi's laughter mingled with the crackle of the stove, a simple domestic symphony, one that disguised the heaviness that had lingered over the house for days. No phone call, no message, not even a rumor of where James had gone. When the meal ended, Diep lifted her daughter gently and carried her toward the old bamboo bed. It creaked, as if singing its own familiar lullaby. "Sleepy," Nhi whispered. "I know, sweetheart," Diep murmured, tucking the blanket around the small, warm body. As Diep hummed a lullaby, soft, trembling, Nhi drifted toward sleep, her voice floating up in that half-dreaming innocence only children possess. "I miss Uncle James so much," the lullaby faltered. A tear slipped quietly from Diep's cheek, falling beside her daughter's pillow. Outside, the night deepened. Crickets hummed, the house breathed, and the emptiness of James's absence pressed gently against her ribs. Hours slipped by. The fan spun lazily overhead. The oil lamp burned low. Then, a sputtering motorbike broke through the midnight stillness. Diep jolted upright, barefoot before she even realized she'd moved. Something in her heart recognized the sound, or maybe she simply wished it into reality. She pushed the door open. Pale moonlight spilled across the yard, and there he was, James. Dust-covered, shirt wrinkled, one pant leg torn, knees scraped raw, he looked exhausted, but alive. "James," she ran to him, not caring about the cold mud seeping between her toes. She threw her arms around him as if fearing he would dissolve into mist. "You're back, you're finally back." Her voice cracked. James tried to smile but winced. "I'm okay. Mostly. I fell on the way. But I had to come home. Why didn't you call?" "I thought." "My phone died halfway here," he replied softly. "And I didn't want you or Nhi to worry more." Diep guided him to the front step, her hands trembling as she examined his injuries. I'm here now. His whisper settled into her chest like a warm stone, heavy but comforting. The cold wind carried the smell of roasted sweet potatoes drifting from a neighbor's yard. Somewhere, a dog barked. The world kept turning, but for Diep, this single moment stitched something torn back together. Later, when James slept, Diep sat on the bamboo mat with an old notebook. The dim lamp cast uneven shadows over the pages, numbers, calculations, deadlines, losses. $20 million, minus transport, minus sacks, minus labor. Each line was crossed out until the final sum left her with barely $5 million. She exhaled, long and defeated. Stepping into the yard, she knelt beside the struggling potato plants, small, fragile, frost-bitten by the cold nights. Don't die, she whispered. Just hold on a little longer. She carried so much, the business, the fields, their daughter. And now James, his body bruised, his spirit weary. But tonight, she allowed herself one small mercy. He was home. Tomorrow, they would fight their battles together. Morning arrived gently. Golden light slipped through the cracks in the bamboo walls, painting the house in soft stripes of warmth. Diep nudged Nhi awake. Up, princess. Time to brush your teeth. Mama, look. I can do it myself. She scrubbed with fierce determination, splashing water everywhere. After breakfast, the three of them stepped outside. James stretched and winced. You should rest, Diep scolded. No way, he grinned, rolling up his sleeves. Today we plant vegetables. She blinked, startled. You've carried everything alone, he continued. From today on, we do it together. No more crying alone at night. A warmth rose in her chest, light, unexpected, overwhelming. Under the morning sun, James showed Nhi how to dig tiny holes. She squealed every time the soil crumbled between her fingers. Diep handed out seedlings, watching the two of them with a tenderness she'd nearly forgotten how to feel. The yard, once quiet, burdened, felt alive again. Near noon, James declared dramatically. Chef, what's for dinner? Diep raised an eyebrow. Since when am I the chef? Since I'm injured, he replied, pointing at his knee. Nhi burst into laughter. Inside the kitchen, sunlight streamed through the window, catching tiny dust motes floating like golden sparks. James, still limping slightly, stood beside Diep chopping tomatoes, unevenly, disastrously. That's ginger, not garlic, she sighed. Nhi giggled so hard she nearly tipped over. In that small kitchen, something long dormant bloomed again, lightness. They cooked together. Stir-fried greens. Braised tofu. A bubbling pot of soup. Dinner felt like a feast, not because of the food, but because the table finally felt full again. Mid-meal, James reached across and took Deep's hand. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For keeping everything together while I was gone. For raising our daughter so well. For waiting for me." Her throat tightened. She tried to pull away, but he held on. "You're not alone anymore." Nhi leaned forward and wrapped both their arms in a hug. Family hug, and in that embrace, fragile, trembling, perfect, something in Deep's heart finally exhaled. After dinner, with dishes washed and Nhi playing outside, Deep finally said softly, "Just don't leave us again." James placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "I won't." "I'm building everything here, with you." They watched their daughter draw shapes in the dirt. "A house," she announced, "with a garden. Chickens. And a swing. Papa will push me." The moon rose higher as night deepened. Stars glimmered behind thin clouds. Later, after James had dried Nhi's hair and sung her gently to sleep, he joined Deep outside. The yard shimmered in silver moonlight. She wrapped her arms around herself. He draped his jacket over her shoulders. "They'll grow fast," he said, nodding at the newly planted vegetables. "Only if we care for them," she murmured. "Then we will." He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. "I know I made mistakes," he said quietly. "But I want to build something real. A home, a future, a life with you." "And what do you dream of?" she whispered. "You," he answered. The word settled between them, simple, honest, undeniable. "Then stay," Deep said. "Stay for good." "I will," James promised. "Every sunrise. Every meal. Every garden bed." "We do it together." For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, Deep leaned her head against his shoulder, not out of exhaustion, but out of trust. The moon drifted across the sky. The oil lamp flickered inside. The village settled into silence. And in the little thatched house, a family began again.